Now, Positively Ernie with Ernie Anastos, a New York TV legend and radio host with great positive stories and interviews.
Thanks, Ernie. You're the best.
And now, here's Ernie.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. We're back, and Happy New Year to everybody. Wishing you all good health and happiness, the best in life, okay? I love doing this show because I've got great guests on the air, and I handpicked them, and I picked a great guy today. Rob Magnotti, I want to say hi to him. What a great guy. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ernie.
This guy is an amazing comedian, an impressionist, an actor. You know, I saw you perform right in this studio.
Right.
Because there was a big party here at WABC.
Yes.
And you were performing it. Rob, I got to tell you something. I mean, I've been around, and I've seen a lot of talent. And I was watching you, and you are really extraordinary. I mean, what you do is amazing. I mean, you perform. You were doing so many characters. I mean, Al Pacino. I mean, you were doing them all.
And there's some bad dudes talking about me, and they keep saying, this guy's got a chip on his shoulder. I said, no, I've got an eagle on my shoulder, and his name is Chip, so be very careful.
Right? But I want to see my favorite actor, Al Pacino, have his own cooking show. What the heck was that? What schmuck doesn't hold down a cake blender when mixing the cake batter? I got double chocolate mix in my hair. I'm doing a show live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Cucino Pacino.
But you know what else? When you do them, you not only have the voice and the mannerisms, the face as well. Now, you must say that this is a God-given talent, isn't it?
Glory to God.
Yeah.
I think so. And I'm grateful and blessed to have that ability to mimic people and act and make people laugh and do comedy.
How early did you know? Because when I was a kid, I was like 10 years old, and I knew that I loved radio. I used to pretend I was on the radio. You know, I'd be underneath the kitchen table with the radio playing. How early on did you know that you had this gift?
When I was a kid, about 6 or 7, I started mimicking family and friends and relatives and do shows in the living room and then in the classroom. So I kind of picked up on it there that I had this trait to mimic, this gift to mimic people and do impressions, And when you get laughs, it's addicting. So you say, I got something here.
Right, I was about to say that when you do it, and then people react to it, right? Then you know that something's going on here.
Absolutely,
Your family was very supportive?
They were. My dad said, you know, you got to get that degree, you got to get the college degree. And my mom said, you better be careful with this going out in the comedy world and everything. But when I started getting paid and doing it consistently and booked all the time, they were like, all right, you could always go back to college if you have to.
Exactly. Well, you went to Montclair, right?
Yes, I did. Montclair State University, great school.
Very good. So you did some college and you got some experience, but the main thing was your career. Right. So people are out there watching and listening and saying, okay, here's a guy that's successful at what he does. Right. Was it a tough haul? And you're still doing it. You're still working hard at this.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. I build characters. It's a character building career. Because there's ups and downs and there's challenges, but I never give up and I keep going. And my mother sold real estate, private homes, and her boss, a man named Saul Flame, he was in the Holocaust. And he actually him and his wife were so kind that when my parents got divorced, they said, your sons aren't leaving because they're established in their schools and neighborhood. We want them to stay here. And they helped us financially stay there.
Nice.
And he told me too, he says, you know, he was German Jewish, so he spoke with a German Jewish accent. He says, you know, Hobby, you will make it, Hobby, you will make it. You you are funny like Jackie Mason. You're a funny guy and you will make it. Never give up, Hobby, never give up. And coming from his background, that always inspired me because if he could make it through what he made it through and build a successful business, you know, I could do it.
Rob,
so
that's very good.
It's people in your life, teachers along the way that you remember. My English teacher in the 7th grade let me recite Abbott and Costello, who's on first.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it was kind of a cold read, but he got me up there reading these lines, and then I would tell jokes. Other teachers would tell jokes, and that inspired me to the comedic timing and everything. But the impressions were big because impressions are acting.
Yes.
Jamie Foxx said it, Kevin Spacey said it, Billy Crystal, and Eddie Murphy. Those were all my inspirations. Joe Piscopo.
Yeah, right here.
Because I would see them on TV and movies, TV, SNL, and I would say, and I would laugh hysterically, and then I say, I could do that, and I want to do that, and they inspired me to do what I do.
You're saying is so important, Rob, because you need role models. You need people to emulate. You have to look at them and say, I want to be like them. There's a difference. There's a difference between being jealous of somebody, which I think is a negative. But if you're admiring somebody and you want to be like them, I think that's a wonderful thing. It's an admiration, and I think you do that with people. But you do so many voices.
My mother got her fill of it around the house because she bought me the Eddie Murphy album, and I was just obsessed with this Delirious show that he did. I never saw anything like it. And I would say things, I'd be at breakfast like, "Yo, I'm a suburban Italian kid, 12 years old, going, yo, Mom, where's the butter? I need some more butter on my French toast now. Come on, we got to get the syrup. Let's go. We go. You make great French toast, but I need a little more syrup here."
This is great.
So, and then you grow the repertoire.
So how do you choose, like, for example, when you do the different, voices, how do you decide which one you like or which one you can do better, something that comes easy to you or what?
Well, I've always loved movies since I was a kid. It's an escape to go watch the movies, from Black Stallion to Rocky to any movie, Woody Allen movies.
Oh, yeah. Great.
But I would watch them over. Grease was the big one when I was a kid. I saw that.
You do Travolta.
That's right. There's two Travoltas now. There's the person Travolta and the talk show host guest, and it's wonderful. Except I fly my airplane. I'm building my skills constantly. It's wonderful. And then there's the Tony Manero, Danny Zuko, John Travolta, who of course I was very inspired by to do dancing and singing and all that stuff. Oh my God, Sandy.
Is he amazing or what? But you know what? Not only do you do the voice, Rob, because I watched you perform, you also danced. And that was an amazing dance. You did Travolta like Travolta.
Thank you.
You got to work on that stuff.
Yeah, well, I've watched that movie enough growing up, and it's a classic. And so, when I was a kid, that was the rage, and I just, the way he danced, and looking up to him as an actor and a dancer.
Sure. Yeah, and you did Pacino, which I thought was amazing.
I was up here, and the Pacino voice in my head was going, "That's Ernie Anastos right there." Okay, continue with the show. This is fun. Mr. Anastos is watching my show.
You know what's great? Not only, like I said, people watch this, not only do you have the voice, but your eyes and your facial expressions are like Pacino.
It's a full body experience.
Absolutely.
The arms, legs, the leverage. Everything, neck angles are involved. Well, that's, I think that's acting.
I know.
When you take on a person's aura, mannerisms, a different voice, that's acting. And that's why I like to mix my stand-up comedy with impressions, because I get to use my acting chops.
I know. But your impressions are great, but you also do a lot of accents. Now, just give us a little repertoire. You do the Italian, you do Latino, you do Russian, you do it all. Let me just hear a little bit, because I want people to appreciate that if they haven't heard you. They're missing out. Go ahead.
Well, I was at a few dance clubs, and there happened to be Indian homie gangs like that rolling through. So, there was one, yo, what up? Yo, why you sweating me like this? Yo, we're going to chill. We're going to have some drinks, yo. We're going to party up, yo. It's crazy. Then there's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so typical actor, prone to exaggeration. I'll go down to Central Park. My wife is there, and the sun comes out of the clouds, and there I am. I'll get down on one knee, and I'll give her the ring, and I'll propose, and it all worked out great.
I love it.
So the Australian,
You do a lot of action. And you know what? I want to ask you about this, because we talked a little bit about this before we did this show. And, comedy has changed. Yeah. And, you do a lot of different accents. Right. Now, some people, say, are you being politically correct by doing something like that? Mm-hmm. And I come from an ethnic family as well, Greek-American family, you're Italian.
Right.
And we work in an environment in this business where you're with everybody from all walks of life, from different parts of the world. Right. So we learn to respect one another.
Right.
But sometimes I feel that we're a little sensitive when we don't really have to be, because nobody means to be mean-spirited if you're doing an accent, if you're having fun, and you're doing it with good humor.
Right.
Okay, let's face it. You know when someone's being nasty.
Sure, yeah.
You know that.
Let me tell you something. If I had I could tell you so many times on the road, people said, "Oh, you're from New Jersey," and or "Hey, how you doing? You're from," no, I don't speak with that
Right.
accent particularly, but they kind of generalize you. And you could get upset at that and say, well, but you let it roll off your back, and everyone's got to have a sense of humor, and but now that you can't canceling people, it's ridiculous.
I know.
How
do you react to that now? I mean, in terms of putting together your shows when you go out and you do things, how careful are you? How sensitive? How much do you think about being politically correct and not offending anybody?
I think you have to just do what you do. I mean, if it's a certain crowd and I'm told watch this or watch that, or maybe I'll be a little bit more careful.
Okay.
But I will. It's America, and I have the right to do my comedy and speak my mind. When I started out, there was a comedian that said, "Rob, when someone's late for the show, if you don't call them out, you're not recognizing them. If there's an Asian person in the audience and they feel left out if you don't do a funny little Asian routine."
Right.
I mean, that's the way it was in the 80s anyway. Now, and people would feel that was inclusiveness,
Right.
is mimicking Italian or Jewish or Irish. And that's the neighborhood I grew up in. It was a melting pot, and everyone kidded with each other. And especially at a show, you would include them, and that was the rule. Now it's changed. So,
No, it
but
has changed.
I mean, I think if you're doing it with a good fun, people realize it. If people start really berating a person's ethnicity or something, then I could understand maybe a little. But it's freedom of speech.
And
it's
when
America,
it's bad. You know when someone is being mean-spirited, you understand it. You hear it, you feel it. But when someone is really doing it with genuine humor, well, look at an old name, Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Think of all the stuff that he did when he was on stage. If you look back, if you listen to him, some people today would go crazy and say, how did he say that?
Right.
Why did he say
Right.
that?
Right.
But people back then, I don't think were offended that way because they thought that he was just being humorous.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and he was.
And
was,
he
Mr.
would
Warmth.
and he would, but he would say, and I think he meant it because if you listen to some of the roasts and some of the people that knew him, they would always say that Don loves people. And he would also tell his audience, I love you, and that's why I'm saying this. I mean, it was an act, but it's changed dramatically. So you're still on the roll, man. You're doing a lot of good stuff. You ended up on Letterman. We talked about that, which was a great. How did you feel about being on that show?
Oh, it was a Cloud 9 experience. It was a Cloud 9 experience. I had been performing with the Sopranos at Foxwoods Casino, and after the show, the executive producer of Letterman came up and said, "Rob, we've got to get you on the show. Keep in touch. Here's my card." So a year goes by. I have a gig with the New York Yankees to perform for them at the Hammerstein Ballroom.
I know.
And I bought a Joseph boot suit, $800.
Joseph was on the show.
I know. He's a great guy.
A great guy.
Amazing clothing.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan. And so I tried the suit on the night before the Yankee gig, and I'm looking in the mirror and I'm thinking, imagine putting on this suit for The Late Show with David Letterman.
Oh.
And the next morning, I get a call from the executive producer,
that.
"Rob, we want you on,
Wow.
and it's April 30th, and can you be there?" I said, "Absolutely."
Beautiful.
And so it was amazing.
And
What
he
an
treated you
experience.
well, I know. Absolutely.
Yeah, he
great
enjoyed
guy.
my set, and I was just grateful.
He's terrific.
He's a terrific guy, a
Absolutely.
legend.
But
And-
he had you on the air, which was great. And now you're doing a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And in terms of how you set it up, okay, what are your goals now? What are you looking for? Because let's face it, Rob, a lot of competition out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
A lot of good competition too.
Yes.
And so how do you counter that? How do you say, okay, this is how I'm going to position myself? And you have an agent, you have people that work for you. Tell us about
Well,
that.
I'm a comedian who loves to do acting as well. I do characters, impressions. I can do voiceovers. I can do commercial. I do physical comedy. And I tell myself there's no one who can be me and my unique gifts. So I will use them. I will continue to audition for acting roles, sitcoms, episodics, television, stage, and commercials and voiceovers. And I also have a unique act that I continue to build and grow with, and I'll be touring. So I'll actually be at the Riley Arts Center in Ocala, Florida.
Oh, when
on
is that
March
coming up?
15th.
March 15th?
Yeah.
In Ocala, Florida?
Yes, okay. It's a
If you're
beautiful
listening,
arts center.
watching.
Yeah.
And you got your act put to, is it going to be kind of the thing that we saw here?
Some of that, it's going to be longer though. It'll be about an hour.
Yeah.
So I do more stand-up, I do more impressions. And
You do a lot of your own writing and your
Oh,
own,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Sometimes people think that, someone does that for him. You know what I mean? He doesn't do it himself, but you are the one that creates your talent and you put it into a package.
Yeah, and my brother helps.
good,
My brother's been
good.
part of my team for a long time. He was instrumental in getting me on Letterman. And we went down there a couple of times within that year and talked to the security guards and the PAs. And so we tried to work our name in there. So you always got to sell yourself. And finally we broke through, and that was great.
You got to work the crowd.
Yes,
you have to work your
do.
contacts. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this is how it gets done. I mean, and it is a connection business. Okay, I mean, if you know somebody, they make a phone call, somebody sees you. Look, I saw you, right? I mean, I know about you, but I saw you perform, and I said, got to have Rob on the show.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is how you. And I'm sure that when you go out and you perform, you know that there are people out in the audience who could be the next, David Letterman producer.
Yes, that's true. That's true. You got to get in front of the right people, and always be out there to be seen by who you never know, such as yourself.
Wow.
I always think of Joel Osteen, because sometimes when things get challenging in this business, I hear him say, God's working behind the scenes. He's moving people. You don't see where he's moving them, and he's putting them in place. You don't know what he's doing, but he's working for you. And I want to thank you for being one of those people, Ernie.
Good, buddy. I watched Joel. He's good. But you got him so. But how many times when you're listening to a voice, how often do you have to practice it, work on it, hear yourself, tweak it a little bit before you get it to where you think it's just right? Different
times for different voices. Some are a little more challenging than others. Yeah. Generally, it could be almost instantaneous, a week to 2 weeks. It could take, sometimes I can refine it over a couple of months.
Right.
Some
people are easy. Like, for example, in the old days, someone like an Ed Sullivan, and everybody would, hello out there. I mean, anybody could do that.
Yeah.
But a certain voice, like you were doing Pacino and some others, who do you find the most challenging? I mean, you did Seinfeld. I heard you do Seinfeld and Kramer.
Right. Well, that's, Seinfeld was a little challenge. There's a lot of undulation. There's a lot of different tones. It took a while, but I got it, and I worked on it. Oh, he worked on it. He watched us every night on WPIX and whatever, all those stations we have the reruns. Yeah.
Kramer.
Yeah. And Nicolas Cage, there's a lot going on with the facial, with the eyebrows, with the nasality, with the undulation of the voice. And I just want to say I'm happy to be on your show, Positively Ernie, because it's so important to spread positivity and emanate it throughout the universe.
Unbelievable.
I respect that.
I'm listening to you, and I'm appreciating your talent, because I think the most important thing, and I can relate to this because of what I've been doing all my life, you're always on, in a sense. In other words, you're always thinking about what you do because it's part of you.
Right.
It's not like you turn it on and off. I think that, because you have this gift, that you're always listening for an opportunity to maybe try a different voice or use a different line.
Sure.
So you're always doing it, but correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're doing is fun. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely.
It has to be fun.
Absolutely. It's fun. It's fun to get the voice and try to get the voice and refine the voice. And then when you put it in front of a crowd and they laugh, you go, okay, I got the mannerism right. I hit something there. Let me work on that more.
Yeah.
And just making people laugh is a gift. And I mean, in high school, I would always say, laughter is the best medicine.
It is.
I would say in high school, well, I want to be a doctor of laughology in a way, and make people laugh.
Talk about that for a minute, because we live in a world, and I don't have to tell you and the people who are listening and watching, where we're always dealing on a day-to-day basis with all kinds of negative problems, serious problems, shootings, violence, hatred, wars. I mean, so much going on. And we need humor. And many times I find that the pulse of the country and the pulse of the world is if we don't have a lot of humor. If I don't hear a lot of jokes from people, I'm saying, it's a little downtime. People laugh more and have more fun when things are good, when things are better. So what do you do? Because I try to, present positive news on the air and stories. What do you do in terms of thinking, how can I make people feel better? How can I make them laugh? How can I be part of the answer, part of the solution? What do you do? How do you think about that?
I think I'm religious, so, I pray a lot. I pray for people in our world. Excuse me. And I mean, just doing shows, as many shows as I can, or doing benefits for people, friends in high school that needed a benefit because they had a medical situation, and you can give of yourself and serve, donating to different charities. Just making people laugh, though, I think it has that butterfly effect. That it travels, it does release the dopamine and the endorphins in the brain and the serotonin. So we just got to keep going, and hopefully we will come back to a point where things aren't so crazy, and we can laugh a little bit more and get along more.
Rob, you mentioned something, and I'm going to bring it up, and I don't talk about it too often, but I do enough. You talked about spirituality.
Yeah.
That you're a spiritual person, you believe in God.
Right.
And I'm the same way. And I feel free enough to talk about it because, and see if you agree with me, and I know you do. It's not like you're judging somebody if they are religious or spiritual or not.
Right.
There are saints who walk around who've never been in a church, a mosque, a synagogue, whatever.
Sure.
And they're just really genuine, beautiful human beings.
Sure.
And to me, when I think about spirituality, I think about what I do, and I know what you do. It's a gift from above.
Right.
And I'm saying I want to make sure that I use this in the proper way.
Sure.
I want to emulate the Creator.
Yes.
Irma Bombeck had a great quote, and I use it often. She said, when I die and I face God, I'm going to say, I have nothing left. I used all the talent you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's a great quote.
You kind of feel like you want to empty out
Sure.
all the time that you're here on this earth, go into the well and bring out this talent and gift because you're honoring our Creator.
Sure. I believe that. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yes, and that's another reason to always keep going and keep improving and just perform as much as I can and share the gifts God's given me. And it's true. It's true. You have to put that out there and use it in the right way. And let's face it, it's a business of adulation and you gotta. I think God, whatever your religion is, helps to put that in perspective because it could easily become about me and money and fame and whatever. But I think it's so important to have that perspective of God's perspective and giving to other people, and we're all in this together type
There's
thing.
a line that says, do I want to be a host to God or a host to God or a hostage to my ego? Okay? Do I want to be a host to God or a hostage to my ego? And I think that's important. There's nothing wrong, if you will, with having the spiritual feeling, because in fact, I find that people who have a sense of creation are kinder to one another, are more understanding of one another, and use the word love, who have a love and care and understanding for humanity. How can you go wrong with things like the Ten Commandments, for goodness sakes? Thou shalt not, basics.
Right.
I mean, I'm not talking about anything specific about religion, all the theological questions that come up and so forth. Put that aside. Forget about that.
Yeah.
Just look at a human being and say, we're connected, man. We're brothers, coming from the same source.
Right. Right.
Am I right?
Yes, exactly. And it's a little bit of a playbook and a rule book that keeps people to say, well, God said, don't do this, don't do that, don't hurt people, treat others as you would treat yourself. Yeah. And if people get too far away from that, you see things going on, and it's sad, But we keep going.
You're doing a great job. And speaking about keeping going, we could go on for the next half hour.
Yeah.
I usually like to ask a couple of quick questions just to get a sense of your being and your personality. I ask people things like, if you could give a newborn baby, some advice about life, something that you have learned, something that you would like to give it to that child and say, you know what, when you're old enough to understand this, here's a little bit of my wisdom that I've learned in my career, in my life as a human being, that maybe I can share with you that could help you. Is there something that comes to mind, Rob?
Just to be compassionate to other people and think twice when, if you get angry, and try to, come down from that if you get angry and center yourself. And always just, to love other people, really. Love other people. And try to respect them as much as possible and be empathetic towards others and whatever their plight or challenge might be.
I like that. Okay, so what makes you laugh?
And dance every day if you can, too. Dancing and laughing.
Like Zorba, right?
Yeah.
When I'm happy, I dance. When I'm not happy, I dance. Oh, my God. So what makes you laugh? What makes you laugh?
All different. I have a broad range of taste for comedy, monologies, physical comedy, Jim Carrey, Jerry Lewis, jokes. Just all sorts of. Seinfeld, Eddie Murphy, Rodney Dangerfield, Adam Sandler, Kevin James, the King of Queens, sitcoms.
Amazing.
The list. Gary Marshall, all the series he's created.
You're talking about giants.
Yeah, Billy Crystal and all of them. Robin Williams, God rest his soul.
Great talents.
Yeah, Joe Piscopo.
I know.
So talented and funny, and just funny movies, rom-coms. I love those things.
So on the other side, the flip side of that, what makes you cry? What makes you cry?
When I see those ASPCA commercials.
Oh, yes, those dogs.
Yeah, that's
man.
and the children at St. Jude's.
Yeah,
that's just so tough. But I donate and I support them, those funds, and but those things, and just sometimes a movie. You get so involved and it becomes so real with that romance or whatever's going on that triggers something in you or me. Yeah, and you just like and sometimes you don't want to admit it. You're just like, I'm good. That was a good movie. That was good acting.
But there's nothing wrong.
I'm just going to walk in the other room a minute, look like I'm looking out the window. Wow, I must have allergies.
Oh, yeah, I know. But you know what? I have been embarrassed sometimes because I will cry easily. I'm moved by something. Okay. And I was talking to a very dear friend of mine who was a Catholic priest, God rest his soul, Jack Couture, Father John Couture. He ran the Christophers in New York, great organization. Okay. And I was talking to him one time. He's a real great guy. And I told him about that. I said, he wanted me to call him Jack. I said, Jack, sometimes, if I'm watching a movie or if I hear somebody or if I witness something that moves me, I said, I can cry easily. And I said, I'm a little embarrassed about that. He said, why? I said, I don't know. I don't feel like, I should express that way. Maybe people think that, I'm weak or something like that. He said, no. Right. He said, there's a thing called the gift of tears. And he said, if you think about it, the gift of tears is that if you are moved to cry, that means that you're recognizing your divinity inside. You're recognizing your soul, a true soul that's sensitive and caring for other human life. Yeah. So he said, never be embarrassed about that. He said, it's the gift of tears. So I thought about that and I said, you know what? Nothing wrong with it.
That's true. That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it helps keep us balanced too. And that's a wonderful saying. Yeah. It's so true. It's true. It's a gift.
So we don't want people to forget now. Ocala.
Yes, Ocala, Florida, March 15th at the Riley Arts Center, a beautiful theater sponsored by Florida Express Environmental, a wonderful company that's sponsoring me down there. And I'm so happy that they are. It's a beautiful place, an art center. They even teach children music and they have orchestras and movies and comedians. So it's a great place.
Well, we hope everybody will show up
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Rob Magnotti will be there. Rob, you're a terrific guest. You've been a lot of fun. It's been a terrific conversation.
Thank you so much,
Learned a lot from you, buddy boy.
Oh, and I learned a lot from you. It's an honor and a pleasure to meet you and be with you on your show.
God bless you and your family.
I commend you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rob, for being on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Bye.